Yes. I kind of like this federal rules of evidence. Right. The judge will determine whether evidence is admissible, and juries will be allowed to determine if evidence is credible. Yeah. This is typical with the usual allocation of law decisions of the judge and, in fact, the decisions of the jury. The determination should be outside the presence of the jury. Yeah. Now, I would just say, when you don't allow me to have jury trials because you say, well, you have to have a mental health evaluation, and I say, well, every day, right, I wasn't in Squim, right? I wasn't in Squim at 4:48 p.m. I was in Squim at 7:47 a.m. Yeah, Judge Porter, ooch. And then you say I was in Vernon, Washington, and I say every day for the last 14 months, right, I wasn't. Now, I actually had some evidence that I thought was pertinent, yes, to the actual court cases that I've been involved in, and you didn't really want the jury to determine if the evidence is credible. Now, there's this concept of the jury trial. It seems to be somewhat foreign to those that are in the family. Yeah. Could you get me the actual jury pool of each city, county, state, and the federal government where, let's say I was suing you, the police officer, yeah, where you got sworn in, yeah, and you were watching the videos and you know my sons are abducted, exploited, abused, neglected, and kidnapped. And I call your mother to the stand and I ask her, well, were you there when your son was sworn in to protect and serve the community that they're employed in? Yeah. And that if they had evidence of a crime, yes, they were obligated to arrest for the crime that they have evidence for. Yeah. Now, the jury's sitting there and they have no knowledge of the actual case itself. And I just wanted to get all the available jurors in each and every jurisdiction of the United States that have an IP address at their home or their place of work, yes, where they might have seen the video. Now, you know how it is. You've been playing I don't know as well as the jury would say the same thing. I don't know who he is. I have no idea. From what I've heard, he's a domestic abuser. He abused his wife on Guam. Yes. And he's a child abuser. He abused his children on Guam, and you've issued protection orders approximately 7.5 years, but I don't know who he is. Yes. And you issued a dissolution of marriage where there was no proof of service, obligating him to pay $300,000 to $400,000 in unsecured debt, child support, and welfare payments. Now, you, the juror, you play I don't know just like the police department does. Yes. I don't know who he is. I didn't see any videos. I wasn't on his Facebook profile. I wasn't reading the emails in his Google Drives. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea who the guy is. Just give me the juror pools because I went through the actual statement that's signed by those in the jury that they will only consider the evidence admissible by the judge as being credible if they determine that it is pertinent to the case. Yes. Now, let's say approximately 6 months after my restoration, yes, after being admitted to a mental facility where you administered psychotropic medication against his will for a crime that you sure he committed without any evidence being produced, that a jury of my peers finds me guilty of violating the restraint provisions of a protection order where there's forgeries of the ex officio superior court. I'm 80% sure it's forgeries of the court commissioner. Yeah. The petitioner herself, we're not sure if she was there or not because she didn't sign it. That's right. And we know he did not get any notice or opportunity to be heard. because he would not motion the court to review anything that he did because the court did not protect his right to due process. If Now, as a jury, you're going to have to determine the credibility of the evidence that is going to convict the accused of violating the restraint provisions of a protection order that do not have any liability to the petitioner, don't have any civil rights protections to the minor's name that happen to be abused for the last 7 years and 5 months because they're 2 grades behind the peers that are the same age as themselves. Now, as a jury, you will have to decide the credibility of it.